Hi everyone, this is Harmony, Divine Harmony, and this is the yearly forecast video for 2021. So I'm filming this in the last few days of 2020, and wow, this year has been one for the books. It kind of feels like 10 years wrapped into one. That was 2020, and now we're heading into 2021, and what does it hold for us? What's in store? And that's what we'll be diving into here. Just, so you have a sense of what's going on here. The yearly forecast gives an in-depth, detailed overview of the year ahead, all the major aspects. I'll speak to the eclipses, the Mercury retrogrades, the Venus retrograde. I'll highlight a few lunations. On my website, I have a membership service, and I write in-depth forecasts for each month, for each week. The more, minor aspects and the asteroids get weaved in there. So this will be a very in-depth overview of 2021. And then I do yearly horoscopes, and that's membership content. I have a membership service and I have tiered membership levels. And the horoscopes will be up, God willing, with no issues by January 1st, probably actually the afternoon before. And in those horoscopes, I'll be talking about some of the major astrology unfolding next year and how it will be playing out for your sign, your sun sign, your rising sign, also known as ascendant. So this is what I'm giving right now is the mundane overview. It's the astrology for everyone. We all are experiencing this astrology. And then the horoscopes will talk to you about how it's playing out for you personally based on your sun sign or your rising sign. At the end of the video, I'll talk a little more about my website and my offerings. So you can listen to that, but you can also just check out my website, divineharmony.com. I've got lots of stuff there. I do readings, I teach classes. I have some big ones coming in for next year. So more on that towards the end. So let's move in. I've got lots of dates and information here. So let's just dive in. First of all, 2021, a big focus is on how we anchor the age of Aquarius energies that were seeded or birthed really at the winter solstice of 2020. So, I talked about this in like blogs, in my writing, and then in the winter solstice online retreat I co-led with my dear sisters, Sienna Sherman and brother Masood Ali Khan. And I was talking about how the age of Aquarius, it has to do with a 26,000 year cycle. So every 2,150 or 60 years, we move into a new age. This is a big cycle. So it goes beyond like the solar cycle, which is a year, or the Jupiter cycle, which is 12 years, or even the Saturn cycle, which is 29 or 30 years. We're like going beyond an individual human life when we're talking about these larger cycles. And so with a 26,000 year cycle, it's really hard to pinpoint the precise day and time that it is initiated. And there's lots of different ideas from different people about when did it start? Did it really start going in the 60s, or is it happening now? The way that I have conceived of it, and it's come to me through dreams, so this is a big part of what's informing my perception and my take, is that the age of Aquarius has come in as a vision, an idea, a dream, probably from the 60s, around there, I think was that seeding point. But this year of 2020, and specifically the winter solstice with the Jupiter-Saturn conjunction at the 1st degree of Aquarius, this was the birthing of the age. So if you envision a mother, right, she gets pregnant, she conceives, gets pregnant, gestates the birth, the baby, sorry, not the birth. And then 9 months later, about, give or take, she gives birth to her baby. So the age of Aquarius has been conceived and gestating, and now it's born out into the world. But just like any mother who has a brand new baby doesn't mean, oh yay, all of a sudden it's full grown and ready to go. Not at all. It's a baby, and it's sleeping a lot, and it's adapting, and it's growing, and it's needing to be tended to. And for me, the age of Aquarius is coming in through each of us. We are the vessels. As we do our inner work and we show up for the outer work in the world, that's how this age gets embodied. It's how it gets brought down and in. So it's not just this idea and this vision, but it's pulled on through into our physicality, into our everyday life, our choices, the way we communicate, the way that we engage. So winter solstice with this 20-year Jupiter-Saturn cycle, we have a new Jupiter-Saturn conjunction every 20 years, but it's also a 200-year cycle because we've got the Jupiter-Saturn conjunctions moving into air. Every 200 years, they focus on one element, so we're moving out of Earth into air. And we haven't had them this close as they were. It was all over the news, so I'm sure you can see some amazing images. For about 800 years, it's also harking back to the Bethlehem star, the star that the Magi followed to find Jesus. That's 2,000 years ago. And then there's even greater cycles that this is kind of harking back to. And so it's a very big time. It's a pivotal moment in time. And a lot of people I know are really feeling it strongly. So 2021 is the year of how we take that birth and what we do with it. This is, the time to anchor in the age of Aquarius through our actions, through our choices, collectively, politically, environmentally, in terms of community, but also personally. So this is like the theme for 2021. And actually where Aquarius is in your chart, which will be the horoscopes, is where your greatest contribution to this birth and embodying and anchoring of this new age, it's where your greatest contribution lies. And I'll be talking about that in the horoscopes. So let's dive in. I've got I'm going to go through an overview of the year and the major things, and then I'm going to look at the Mercury retrogrades, Venus retrograde, a few lunations. So there's going to be a lot of information. Starting in January. So this is something that's been building since the last months of 2020. We have Neptune square the nodal axis. I love Neptune. I mean, I'm Pisces rising and Pisces moon, and I have Neptune on the midheaven. So of course I'll love Neptune, but the shadow of Neptune, especially in Pisces in its own sign, is kind of escapism, ungrounding, illusion, confusion, wearing rose-colored glasses, wanting to see the good but not the shadow, seeing the potential but not reality, just kind of checking out, not really wanting to see. And so Neptune squaring the nodes is really important because it's forming a T-square. There's two variations of the node, mean and true. So one of the squares is January 5th, the other is January 26th, so the whole of January. It's kind of bookended here. And when a planet squares the nodal axis, we have this pivotal point of choice between the karmic south node, what we've always done, where we're stuck, where we're repeating karmic patterns, where it's like not serving, and the north node, where we're meant to grow, evolve, move towards, and it's not the path of easy growth. The north node is never easy because it's unfamiliar. Literally, we have to get pushed out of the nest and figure out how to fly while we're falling down when we're following the north node path. So the nodes, the karmic south node's in Sagittarius, and Sag is an amazing sign. South node tends to highlight where we overdo those energies, and 2020 has been an amazing year to really feel and experience the nodes, because the shadow of south node in Sag is hubris, self-righteousness, I'm right, you're wrong, dogma, thinking we're open-minded, but then being really closed-minded to other people we think are closed-minded. It comes, in this frequency of I'm right, my religion, my culture, my political affiliation, my skin color, my sex, my gender, my whatever, my age makes me right, and then everybody else is wrong, they just need to listen. North Node in Gemini is all about coming back to beginner's mind. It's about coming to that place of, no, I don't know it all, and I'm open to learning more. Being that perpetual student, always wanting to learn. The shadow of Sag is when we're so stuck in the teacher role that we can't learn anymore. We're closed-minded to anything else, to anyone else teaching us, because we think we know it all. North Node in Gemini is the antidote to that. Neptune squaring the nodes, though, can make it very easy to be confused, deluded, deceived. and not really see where we don't know, not see where we're coming from dogma or rigidity or self-righteousness, not see where information is being manipulated, maybe in one-to-one connections, maybe, you know, in the media or in bigger ways in the collective. And so there's like a big kind of what's going on, sort of cloudy, nebulous energy playing out in January. And that's how we open up into the year. Now, we also have Jupiter in Aquarius, which, you know, Jupiter moved into Aquarius for good in December of 2020. And he will be in Aquarius for a lot of the year. I'll talk about later, he's going to dip into Pisces, but we'll speak about that in a moment. He is in Aquarius at the beginning of the year, though. And Jupiter in Aquarius is amazing for growth and expansion through innovation, invention, community involvement, new things coming in. You know, Aquarius is scientific and forward thinking and futuristic and technological, and great for astrology, actually, because it's very higher mind, cosmic, connect to the cosmos, insight kind of energy. And Jupiter will sextile Chiron, the wounded healer, January 11th, and then square Uranus, January 17th, and only once for each of these. Saturn's going to do the same thing, and he'll do it 3 times, but Jupiter's doing it first. So Jupiter Chiron is amazing when it comes to opportunities for healing. Jupiter is the greater benefic. He brings a lot of light. Chiron is a wounded healer. He brings a lot of awareness. He asks us to look at things, look into our wounds, look into the stuff that's in the unconscious that we're not wanting to own or see or take accountability for. Chiron and Aries, the wounding and healing journey is around the masculine. Everybody has masculine energy, so this isn't just about men or women or whatever. This is about energy. The masculine energy is our impetus to take action, to take a stand, to fight for what's right, to set our boundaries, to say no, to focus on ourselves. Shadow, though, of Aries, if we either stuff that, we don't have our boundaries, we don't have our anger on tap, we're afraid to take a stand, or overdoing Aries, we're combative, argumentative, aggressive, selfish, self-focused, acting like a child, always needing it to be about us. So Jupiter sextile Chiron is this amazing opportunity for healing through community, in the collective. This is Aquarius after all. Healing technologies, healing modalities perhaps coming through, new things maybe being birthed or created or remembered, channeled. Jupiter square Uranus is a little different. You know, Jupiter's in the sign of Uranus, and Uranus is in the sign of Venus, Taurus. Jupiter square Uranus can be great for sudden change and shifts and unexpected energy. But with a square, it can also be like chaotic, ungrounding, unexpected things happening that kind of throw us for a loop. With Uranus and Taurus, there can be things going on in the physical world, like environmental stuff, maybe earth changes. There is a need to be aware with all the Aquarius, and I talked about this in the online retreat. One of the shadow sides of Aquarius is being so in the head that we're disconnected from the body and our emotions, and also being so interested in progressive technologies that we're moving towards things that are actually not good for the earth, for nature, for the health of the body, for, you know, the balance. Like, we're not all technology. You know, we have human bodies and human emotions, and the earth, you know, has elements we need to take care of. We can't just be focused on progressiveness at the expense of everything else. And that's something we do need to be aware of. So we have Jupiter sextile Chiron square Uranus. And then starting in February, Saturn does the same. We have Saturn sextile Chiron, February 9th, June 23rd, and November 26th. So 3 total times all year long. And then Saturn will square Uranus February 17th, June 14th, and December 23rd. I'm going to talk about Saturn Chiron first, and then I have a specific thing, a deeper dive, because Saturn square Uranus is one of the biggest transits of 2021. So Saturn Chiron is also this opportunity for healing. Jupiter and Saturn are the 2 teacher planets. You know, Jupiter teaches by expansion and abundance and opportunity, and Saturn teaches by contraction and karma and lessons, and they're both sextiling Chiron. They are both providing these opportunities for healing, for opening up of our awareness, for dealing with our past, for dealing with our wounds, having healthier relationship to our anger and our rage and our passions and our fire, because Chiron is in Aries. So Saturn's providing this container for the healing work that is possible. Now, Saturn square Uranus is quite opposite. And what's so fascinating about Saturn and Uranus is mythologically they're related. Uranus is the father of Saturn. And Uranus impregnated his wife Gaia, but then wouldn't let her children come out of the earth. He was kind of like repressing them. And so Saturn and his siblings, they were like, what do we do? And Saturn took a stand against his father, overthrew his father's power, took the power of his father. But this was the beginning of the patriarchal karma that's been followed down the father line, because Jupiter did the same to his dad. Saturn ate his children because he was told that one of his kids was going to usurp his power. So he's like, well, I'll eat them. Wonderful idea. And of course, that probably pissed off his wife. And Jupiter decided to, overthrow his father, and he took power from his father. So there's this paternal line karma that comes through Uranus, Saturn, and Jupiter. And what's fascinating is we just had Jupiter conjunct Saturn, winter solstice 2020, and we're having Jupiter and Saturn square Uranus all of 2021. So to me, mythologically, one of the biggest pieces here is this breaking of the karma of the father line. What do we keep passing down through patriarchy that is toxic, stagnant, stuck, not working, bad for the earth? I mean, Uranus's wife was Gaia, Mother Earth, and he was like stuffing all her kids. Saturn's wife, I believe, is Rhea. I could have gotten that one wrong. I'm trying to remember. And literally, these husbands were dominating and controlling their partners and repressing their children. And so there's something here about the shadow of the masculine, the patriarchy, and what it does to the feminine, to the mother, to the children, to the earth. Do you see how this is playing out in the world today? So this is big. Saturn square Uranus also, just energetically, Saturn is like the root. Saturn's grounding, what we've always done, tradition, expectation, hard work. Uranus is change, liberation, freedom, but also upsetting the apple cart. Uranus is like a lightning bolt that comes in and shatters the whole tower. It actually makes me think of the tower card in the tarot. And so they're very opposite. Saturn's the old, Uranus is new, Saturn is past, Uranus is future, Saturn is tradition, Uranus is non-traditional. So they're super opposite and they're squaring each other. So what I want to share, I did some research on this because I was like, feeling into this father line and then wanting to look at some of the cycles. So we have a Saturn-Uranus square every 38 to 43 years. This particular cycle we're in is a 44-year cycle. And every 10 to 11 years, we have a trigger. So this cycle began in 1988 with the Saturn-Uranus conjunction in Sagittarius. It was February 12th, 1988. And there were actually 3 conjunctions that year, but the first one seeded the cycle, and it was at 29 degrees, 55 minutes of Sagittarius. Now, if you know your astrology, you might know that the last degree, 29th degree, or sometimes it gets rounded up, it's called the 30th degree, is very important because it's the end of that sign. It's about to move into the next sign. And so what I call it is the degree of karmic completion. It's like we're wrapping up whatever is going on with that energy in the last degree because we're wanting to prepare to move into the next sign. And so we had this karmic degree. Not only is it a karmic degree, but it's also right by the galactic center, which is the center of our Milky Way galaxy. If you were able to see the Milky Way at night, the rift, the dark rift that you see in the middle, right in there, you're going to have the galactic center. And this conjunction began in the galactic center. We're actually now at the second square. So when something starts out, the journey of Saturn and Uranus as they dance together, they start out conjunct, and then they have an opening square, they have an opposition, they have a closing square or the second square, and then they start all over again. So we're in the closing square of this previous cycle. The next cycle will begin in 2032. and that's going to be at 28 degrees 1 minute of Gemini, exactly opposite of this one that just happened in 1988. Also very close to the karmic degree. I mean, it's 2801, so it's not 29, but it's close. And it's the anti-galactic center. So you've got the galactic center activated, the anti-galactic center. To me, these are, and not just to me, to a lot of people, these are very powerful points spiritually. You know, there is this teaching that the galactic center is called the Golden Gate. And actually, you know, some say that the Golden Gate in San Francisco was named after it. And the anti-galactic center is the Silver Gate. And there are these ideas that the Golden Gate is the gate of God, and the Silver Gate is the gate of man. But actually, there's deeper past connections. The Golden Gate is the gate of the sun, the Silver Gate is the gate of the moon. It has to do with the masculine and the feminine, the divine masculine, the divine feminine, the balancing of the gates. Anyhow, when I went through all of these Saturn-Uranus conjunctions, we have been approaching this karmic degree, and then we're going to be separating out of it. So in 1897, the conjunction was at, I'm going to round up, well, actually, I guess I'll give the exact 2740 Scorpio. So 2 degrees, 20 minutes from the last degree and minute possible. In 1942, the conjunction is at 2922 Taurus. In 1988, I just said it's 2955. In 2032, it'll be 2801 Gemini. 2079, it'll be 2950 Capricorn. And then we start moving out of this karmic degree. 2122, it's 2838 Cancer. And then in 2170, it'll be 2710 Aquarius. So we've been slowly moving to this fulcrum, this 29th karmic degree point. And it really first perfected, or got exact, in 1942, and then in 1988, 2032, it's close, it's just 1 degree off. And then we'll have one more in 2079, and then it'll start waning, it'll start moving away from this karmic degree. So to me, this says that there's big energies happening in this period of time from 1942 to 2021, 21. Because this karmic degree is getting activated, and Saturn and Uranus are the old and the new, and it's the battle between the old and the new. And how do we take with us what's good from the past and leave behind what's not and open up to the new? One of the metaphors for me about this is the baby in the bathwater, right? You may have heard of that. It's like, keep the baby, but get rid of the bathwater. You don't want to keep a baby in dirty bathwater. That can actually make the baby sick. But you also don't mistakenly keep the bathwater and throw the baby out. You know, that sounds funny, but like that's what we're needing to really discern at this time with Saturn square Uranus is what is the dirty, toxic bathwater that needs to go? It is killing the baby. And then what is the baby, and what can we keep, and what do we need to take care of better, and what do we need to do, you know, to move forward? So also what I found fascinating is that all these conjunctions are opposite each other. You know, the 1897 was in Scorpio, the next one was in Taurus. The next one was in Sagittarius, the following was Gemini, Cancer, Capricorn. The last one I could cast for was Aquarius. My software wouldn't go any further, but I'm guessing that the following one would be Leo. So it's activating these opposition points. And the one we're at right now, Sagittarius, that we're finishing, and then in 2032 we'll start Gemini, these are where the nodes are right now. The nodes of the moon, the north node, evolution, growth, destiny, is in Gemini, and the karmic south node is in Sagittarius. So that's also super important. This year of 2021, all the eclipses will be with the nodes in Gemini and Sagittarius. One of the eclipses will actually be in the last degrees of Taurus, but the nodes will still be in Gemini and Sagittarius. The nodes themselves don't move until December 22nd, the mean node. So, you know, this is all about being between a rock and a hard place and really discerning what needs to change, what traditions are okay, but which ones are not, and they need to be thrown out. What's interesting is Saturn is in the sign of Uranus, and Uranus is in the sign of Venus. I wrote a whole blog. You can find it if you Google, or maybe I'll remember to put it in the video. It's called, just Google Divine Harmony, and then oh God, what is it? Oh, Uranus and Taurus, a revolution of embodiment, or maybe it was embodiment revolution, something like that. And to me, Uranus and Taurus is about waking up in the body, waking up on Earth, noticing what is happening in our bodies and on the Earth, in our precious natural resources, our air, our water, our food, like what is going on that we need to be really tending to. The shadow of Uranus, though, is where we escape. And shadow Uranus and Taurus is trying to get out of the body, is not wanting the limitation of physicality, is not wanting to be on Earth. And this can be seen in the shadow kind of spiritual circles that are like, you know, just want to ascend, want to go somewhere else, don't want to be here and steward the Earth and take care of the stuff that we've done to it, you know. And so this escapism, this wanting to escape from the body, escape from even the feminine. I mean, it's Taurus, it's Venus ruled sign, escape from honoring the feminine, which expresses itself through women, obviously, but also emotions and feelings, how we relate to and take care of our bodies, how we tend to the Earth. I mean, these are all kind of like Taurian things. So to me, this is an awakening in the body. An embodiment revolution is available for us. Actually, a course I'm going to be teaching next year is called Embodied Astrology, and it'll be all about taking the planets and the constellations and the signs and the stars into our bodies and bringing it down and in. One of the shadow sides of astrology is it can kind of be heady, and we can kind of stay up here with it, and got to bring it down and in. So, you know, there can be, the Saturn square Uranus can be restriction of freedom, but also rebellion and revolution. There can be a war between the old paradigm and the new. We do need to be aware of potential dictatorship, authoritarian kind of energy. But then the counterculture response to that, revolution, political upheaval, environmental crisis is possible, you know, as a means to get us all to like work together and stop fighting each other. You know, really it's about holding the tension of the opposites, which is something Carl Jung talked about. You know, it's like black and white, good and bad, masculine and feminine, light and shadow. As long as we are like polarizing and one is good and the other is bad, we're at war. We're at war within, we're at war without. And so holding the tension of the opposites and then finding the creative third that the two can create together when they come into union, or as Rumi put it, finding, you know, out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field, I'll meet you there. You know, finding the field between the two where they can have some common ground can be important. So we may see some destruction of old, you know, things, systems, huge changes playing out collectively, environmentally, globally, politically, but also personally, wherever it is in your chart. And we want to be open to the unexpected, and also realize, for those in the United States, I'm in the midst of writing an article on the USA Pluto return. This is the year pre-Pluto return. I'm an American, so I live in the US. And we have Pluto return in 2022, so 2021 is the last year of a previous Pluto cycle. That's important when you think about what's going to be happening in America, and then America relates to the world. We all relate to the world, but you know, we're all interconnected. So this is a big one. Now let's move on. In March to May, we have Uranus Semi-Sextile Chiron. For the, there's two of them, March 31st, May 3rd. These are the last two in a minor transit that's been happening since 2009. 2009 to 2021, we've had Uranus Semi-Sextile Chiron, and they've been moving through different signs. Back in 2009, Uranus was in Pisces, Chiron was in Aquarius. And I know this because my daughter was born in 2010. Actually, how I learned about this aspect is my daughter was born on a day where it was exact. The semi-sextile was precise the day she was born. And I noticed it, and I was like, that's a minor aspect. And I'm like, And then I started studying, and I was like, oh my gosh. So I saw this, 12-year transit, And it's really weird to realize how old I am that I was noticing it back then and now it's coming full circle. But Uranus, the Great Awakener, and Chiron, the Wounded Healer, the two together in harmonious but minor aspects, so more subtle, have been bringing amazing opportunities for healing, for awakening, for change, for transformation. And we have the last two this year. Uranus is now in Taurus, Chiron is now in Aries. So Uranus has moved from Pisces to Aries and now in Taurus through these last 12 years. Chiron has moved from Aquarius, Pisces, now in Aries, moving through these signs. And the last two occur this year. And that's a very significant kind of completion, bookending or closing the chapter of this big opportunity for awakening. But the thing is, it is a minor aspect. So it could just operate behind the scenes and nothing happens with it. Like, you know, astrology is not like a silver spoon in the mouth. Even when you have the most amazing transits, if you don't do anything with them, they'll just sit there, you know, and it'll maybe you'll have a nice meal that night, but it's not going to manifest into something amazing. You actually have to like work with the cosmos, not just like wait for a silver spoon in the mouth. In April, Jupiter in Aquarius sextiles Eris in Aries. Eris, the goddess of discord and chaos. She is an activist. She's a warrior goddess. I love her. I had a whole masterclass on her. I'm actually going to write a note so I can link to it. What was the other thing I wanted to link to? The Uranus and Taurus blog. Okay. I'll forget these things if I don't write it down. So Eris is amazing. I did a whole masterclass. It's now available on demand. 2+ hours teaching on her mythology, etymology, astrology, archetype. And then there's a guided meditation journeying to Eris. So if you're interested in learning about her, she's the new body discovered in the 21st century. And so she actually is the archetype for the 21st century. And I highly recommend you learn about her because she's not going anywhere anytime soon. And we've had, for the most part, very intense triggers of her. In 2016-17, Uranus was conjunct her. And last year, Saturn and Pluto were square her. And Mars retrograde was conjunct her. And Black Moon Lilith was conjunct her. There's been a lot of like hard triggers of Eris. This coming year, we actually have Jupiter sextile Eris. And it's April 4th, September 10th, and November 18th. So we have the planet of expansion and opportunity opening us up to the gifts of Eris. She's not all bad. I know she's called the goddess of discord and chaos, but guess what? She reveals what's underneath in the shadow. She doesn't create the chaos. She reveals what's going on behind the scenes that nobody wants to look at. Her medicine's very spicy and tart and intense. And her medicine is necessary, especially when as a collective we are so stuck on this path that's taking us, you know, not in a good direction. Eris comes in to upset the apple cart and to, you know, really reveal what's going on behind the scenes. So Jupiter with Eris is amazing, especially for joining in community, for activism, for taking a stand in what we believe in, for, you know, standing up for truth. I mean, phenomenal. Let's see what else is going on. We have here we go. I was like, wait a second, I got lost in my notes. Okay, May through July, Jupiter dips into Pisces. I'm personally excited for this one, but it doesn't really hit my ascendant until the end of the year. But once Jupiter's in Pisces, I have so much water in my chart, everything's getting cojoined or trined. So Jupiter moves into Pisces, out of Aquarius, air, into water, out of the mind, into emotions and intuition. May 13th, Jupiter will station retrograde on the summer solstice, June 20th, and then we'll go back into Aquarius, July 28th. So from May to July, we'll have Jupiter in Pisces for a bit. Jupiter rules Pisces. Jupiter rules two signs, Pisces and Sagittarius, and he's very well placed in this sign. Amazing for mysticism, spirituality, intuition, psychic gifts, dreams, creativity, compassion, altruism. Really lovely, lovely energy. And then end of the year, December 22nd, he'll move back in for good. He'll actually go back into Aquarius July 28th, and then he'll station direct October 17th. move back into Pisces December 28th. I was confusing the date with when the nodes move into new signs. We also have Pluto square Eris, and I talk a lot about this in my Eris masterclass. There were 3 squares in 2020. We have 2 more squares in 2021, and Pluto and Eris are the farthest planets out in our galaxy, like farthest reaches that we're aware of. Planets are dwarf planets, and they've been squaring each other. And actually, the first square was January 26, 2020, right around when this virus was starting to come in, but we didn't actually know about it, because I actually know people who had it in January, before there was awareness that something was going around. That was also the day that Kobe Bryant's helicopter crashed. That was very sad. I actually, at the time, was living in Ojai, so just like an hour or so away, and that was a very shocking event for people in LA. And so Pluto square Eris is all about shining a light on the shadow and sudden and unexpected things happening. And I remember when there was a picture of the virus, coronavirus, and it was like this red spiky looking thing. I was like, wow, that, like, it looks like Eris to me. Like Eris, you know, the color for Eris feels like red. And it was actually a very beautiful image. I thought it was beautiful. There's obviously all these associations with it, so probably a lot of other people didn't find it beautiful, but just like in terms of like a symbol, I found beauty in it, and I felt a deep connection to Eris. She comes in to reveal what's in the shadow. I mean, look at what's happened in 2020. It's like all of a sudden everything that's happened has revealed so much inequality, has revealed people's health and immune system issues, has revealed the financial disparity and who can ride out an intense year and who cannot. And, you know, there's been so much based on the color of your skin. Can you even walk outside your house and survive? I mean, so much has been revealed in 2020. If you have eyes to see and ears to hear, you can see a lot and hear a lot about what's going on behind the scenes in 2020. That's carrying over into 2021. There's 2 more Pluto Eris squares, August 27th and then October 8th. The October 8th one's huge because Pluto stations direct 2 days before. And there's actually a new moon as well. So it's a new moon, October 6th, Pluto stations direct, and then 2 days later squares Eris. And that's like the end of this 2-year, very intense transit that's been just like ripping things off and making us look at everything behind the scenes. One of the things with Eris and Aries is she's definitely, you know, tapping into a lot of collective anger and rage, which is why I believe some of the best work you can do personally for yourself right now is shadow work, which is all about getting into your emotions, your unconscious conditioning, your judgments, your shadow, what you can't see, what you project onto others, what you cut yourself off from. Because all of that stuff, you might remember like basic psychology 101, where they show you that image of a iceberg, right? And the top of it that's above the water is like maybe this big, and this is the conscious self, and this is what we can see and what we know. And then the rest of it is like huge, and it's all underneath the water. And the water represents the unconscious. There's so much going on down there. We don't even know because we're just up here thinking, oh, what I see is what there is. That is not the case. And Eris has been revealing all this stuffed emotion and anger and rage and fear and anxiety. And good God, like 2020 has been all about like, whew, everything coming up and out. So working with that, you know, so that we're not just stuffing it or drinking to avoid it or over focusing on work to become a workaholic so that we don't, you know, have to really deal with it. It's not really useful because then it just stays there as baggage, right? And then it's not being dealt with. So shadow work's amazing. And I have to say, my astrology in your shadow class, the first time I taught it was 2019. And then I taught it again 2020 in January. Actually, we started right after Eris, the Pluto Eris square, and it went into the first week of March, right around when all the stuff started hitting the news with the coronavirus. And I can't tell you how many emails I received during that time, after that time, even through the summer, saying, my God, I'm glad I signed up for that class because I've been working with the tools and it's helping me deal with this year that's been so intense. And that was just guidance. I mean, I was planning on offering it again, and I wanted to do it in alignment with the Pluto Eris square. So anyhow, I'll be offering that course again in 2021. I'm thinking February. I'm finalizing dates. So I'll make sure also to put a link to my newsletter, because that's where I will announce things. Also, maybe I'll put like a place where you can email me if you want to be put on a contact list as well. Yeah, I have to figure out the exact dates, but I'm pretty sure it'll be in February. Now, another thing to be aware of for next year is the nodes. So I talked about what the nodes meant, right? North node in Gemini, South node in Sag. From January to May, there's a lot of nodal activations. We've got, of course, Neptune square the nodes in January, as I mentioned. The dates here are all for the mean node of the moon, but there's 2 variation, mean and true, so there can be a little window here. Jupiter trines the North Node. Jupiter in Aquarius trines the North Node February 25th. Saturn trines the North Node April 24th. So the 2 teacher planets linking with the node of destiny, evolution, coming back to beginner's mind, being curious, really wanting to understand and be open to learning. Really beautiful. Uranus will semi-sextile the North Node May 17th, but will also quincunx the Karmic South Node. So Uranus and Taurus linking harmoniously with the North Node, but also tensely with the South Node. And so this can be a time of like get real moments around what is karmic, stagnant, stuck, needs to be released, and we need to do it now. And then Chiron will sextile the North Node May 18th. And if you notice, Uranus and Chiron link with the nodes within a day. That's because that's right around the last Uranus-Chiron semi-sextile, which was May 3rd. And so the nodes link just a couple weeks after that exact last sextile. So there can also be some revelations here around what this whole 12-year transit has been about, 2009 to 2021. Uranus, the rebel, revolutionary, great awakener, harmoniously linking with Chiron, the wounded healer, the planet that expands our awareness and helps us see our wounds and pains so we can deal with them. Eclipses. So the eclipses this year are all with Sagittarius Gemini nodes, but there is one eclipse in Taurus, and that's going to start tilting us into the Taurus Scorpio eclipses. So every year and a half we get eclipses in a pair of signs, opposite signs. The eclipses are always related to the nodes and what the signs of the nodes are, and the nodes move every 18, 19 months. So this year we have a total lunar eclipse on the Karmic South Node May 26th at 5 degrees, 25 minutes of Sagittarius. And then we have a annular solar eclipse at 19 degrees, 47 minutes of Gemini, June 10th, and that's a North Node eclipse. So, the total tends to be more magnified, more powerful. It's a lunar eclipse. It's a Karmic South Node. It's like massive ending energy, needing to be done with the shadow of Sag. Too much, too big, supersize me culture, hubris, self-righteousness, I'm right, you're wrong, my culture, religion, spiritual tradition, political affiliation is the right one and you're wrong. That keeps us divided. I mean, if you're looking for unity and healing and moving into the age of Aquarius, we got to leave that type of thinking and dogma behind. And then November 19th, we have a partial lunar eclipse, 27 degrees, 14 minutes of Taurus, but the North Node is still in Gemini. So it's a North Node eclipse. We're starting to tilt into these Taurus eclipses and Taurus Scorpio. And those will be focused, especially Taurus, on resource, money, embodiment, self-worth, and self-love. But this whole year, the nodes are still in Aries, Gemini, fiery Sagittarius. So there's focus here on truth and belief and the mind and how our mind creates our reality and the openness of the mind, being able to be a student, not just a teacher. And then the last eclipse is December 3rd. It is a total solar eclipse on the Karmic South Node at 12 degrees, 22 minutes of Sagittarius. And I read an article recently, some science article, that one is the whole path of that eclipse is going through Antarctica. And there, are questions about what that means environmentally. We're having a lot of issues with snow melting that should not be melting, and what's underneath that snow that's getting released into the atmosphere. And that's likely going to be a big environmental eclipse to kind of be aware of. Now I want to talk about the retrogrades. So Mercury, all the Mercury retrogrades this year are in air. We've got Mercury retrograde in Aquarius, January 30th to February 20th. We have Mercury retrograde in Gemini, May 29th through June 22nd, stationing just a day or two after the summer solstice. And then we have Mercury retrograde in Libra, September 26th, and going direct October 18th. So Mercury retrograde is a time to rethink, review, revise, go over the past. And in all the air signs, the focus here is on communication, information, relationship, social connection, community. You know, it's the air realm, which we're moving into the 200-year cycle of air for the Jupiter-Saturn conjunctions. We're moving into the age of Aquarius, which is, you know, an air sign. And so there's beauty here, actually, of really rethinking, what does it mean? You know, how do our thoughts create our reality? How do we communicate and express? How do we make sure we understand to stay relational in our interactions with others while still, you know, maintaining our boundaries or whatever? So it's interesting to see this focus happening in this year. Venus will station retrograde, but not till the very end. So she moves, stations retrograde December 19th, 2021, in Capricorn, conjunct Pluto, and square Eris. So triggering the Pluto-Eris square, which at that point will be done, will be waning. There won't be another one, but it's still very significant. She won't go direct till the end of January of 2022, and there can be this reevaluating of our relationships and our money and our resource, but also in Capricorn, reevaluating our work, our career, the traditions and expectations and obligations in our lives, the foundations in our lives. Are they toxic? Do they need to be rebuilt? You know, do they need to be like reestablished? I'll have a lot more coming out about the Venus retrograde as Venus goes retrograde in December. We have the nodes will move out of Gemini North Node, Sagittarius South Node, into Taurus and Scorpio December 22nd. So just a day or two after winter solstice. Excuse me. Just a day or two after winter solstice. And the solstices this year are actually really significant. What was the other thing that was happening on the solstice before? Oh my goodness, I'm forgetting. Oh, Jupiter stationed retrograde in Pisces, really magnifying the beautiful Piscean archetype, but also a fixed star called Fomalhaut, which is very powerful spiritually. And I'll have a whole blog that comes out about that in a deeper way. But then the winter solstice, you know, right a day or two before Venus goes retrograde, and we have, what was I just talking about? There's something else that we have going on. Oh, the nodes moving into new signs. And when the North Node moves into Taurus, it's going to align with the Pleiades. And the Pleiades is a very powerful constellation in the sky. The Seven Sisters, it's very spiritual, mystical. We have a lot of these kinds of activations this year, which is amazing. There's other things more detailed that I'll be writing in my monthly forecasts and weekly forecasts that relate to this, but there's a lot of like big cosmic activations with really significant stars and gateways. So I'll just leave it at that. This is much longer than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be like 30 minutes. Just a few other things to mention. Oh, another theme this year is Juno and the Karmic South Node. So there's the mean node, there's the true node. For mean, it's only once, February 13th. But for true, it's February 15th, July 5th, and August 8th. And August 8th, actually, I'll be leading a new moon in Leo, Lionsgate, lunation for Year of Astrology. They have closed their joining right now, but there'll be another joining, I think, around winter solstice, and I'll be sending out an invite. I'll be hosting that whole lunation, which I'm super excited about because it's a new moon in Leo on the Lionsgate, a day after solar lugnasa, heading into the heliacal rise of Sirius. We'll have a blue moon, full moon at the 29th degree of Aquarius, which is activating the fixed star Regulus. I mean, there's just so much going on in that month. and I'm very excited to be hosting it. If you don't know much about Year of Astrology, it's the Inner Circle is this thing you can join. It's like a monthly membership, and you can listen to different astrologers each month. They host and they give teachings and master classes, and they're on the chat boards, and I'll be there in August. So anyhow, back to Juno. Juno on the Karmic South Node can really magnify karmic situations in relationship. Juno is the asteroid goddess of partnership and marriage. So she's about, financial, business, romantic, marriage type relationships and alliances. And with her alignment to the Karmic South Node, it can be really magnifying. Where are we staying stuck in relationships that are karmic, that aren't serving us? Juno also, though, has to do with where we're committed to things. So not just relationship, it can be commitment to whatever. And Juno in Sagittarius on the Karmic South Node can be commitment to truth, but then also where does that skew into commitment to our own self-righteousness, our hubris, our rightness and other people's wrongness. So these are things, it's interesting because the mean node is February 13th and the true node is February 15th. And in between there is Valentine's Day in America. I don't know if that's like a European holiday. I can't even remember. Probably it is though. I think Valentine was like a saint, and I think it was a European myth. Anyhow, but that's interesting to note, right? Is that we've got an interesting energy playing out on Valentine's Day, which is the lover's day, and Juno is the partner. And one other thing I did want to mention, back to the Venus retrograde. One of the main signatures of Venus retrograde is her conjunction with Pluto and square to Eris. And she will be, her first trigger of that is December 7th through 11th. And then her second trigger is December 25th through the 30th. And that's Christmas for those who do celebrate, or a few days after solstice, or whatever Kwanzaa, or, whatever festival of light that you celebrate. A lot of times it's somewhere in that window in December. And we've got Venus triggering the Pluto-Eris square. That's one of the defining signatures of Venus retrograde. So there can be a lot of shadow coming to light in relationships, in financial situations, in government, in big business, in career. And it, can make for a little bit of an intense Christmas. This Christmas of 2020 had Sun square Chiron. And I heard so many stories from friends and clients about like the heaviness of the holiday, not being able to, see family, or having issues with things not arriving for presents, or people whose houses burned down and didn't even have a home for Christmas, and people getting COVID on Christmas and not being able to be with their family members. I mean, there was a kind of a heavy energy for Christmas this year. So just heads up that there can be a little bit of heaviness next year too. And so then maybe doing stuff to transmute that, to work with it ahead of time. It's like, what is trying to get your attention December 7th through the 11th? Start dealing with it before Christmas. And then maybe, some of that energy will have been released. And then there were just a few lunations I wanted to highlight. So I do, in my membership service, I do all kinds of stuff with the moons, the new moons. I do lunar gate calls, lunar horoscopes, lunar insights. Like, I'm really into the moon and the new moon, actually any part of the moon cycle, but anyhow. So there'll be deeper dives throughout the year. And if you're interested, I highly recommend signing up for a membership. There's tiered levels. So I think it's like stellar supporter, lunar lover, maybe it's the other way around. Lunar lover, stellar supporter, galactic benefactor. The galactic one is the highest level, and you get the gate calls and all the horoscopes and all the everything, and also discounts on readings, reports. So I'll make sure to link membership into below this YouTube video. But the lunations that I just wanted to highlight a little here is the January 12th new moon is the new moon on the same day that the Saturn-Pluto conjunction, the new 40-year cycle that began January 2020, it's on the same day that happened last year. So this is a new moon activation of the Saturn-Pluto conjunction from last year. And that started a whole new cycle for us. The highest expression of Saturn and Pluto together is mastery over our shadow, doing the hard work of transformation. But the shadow of these two is like dogma, rigidity, control, power over, power under, holding on to resources, authoritarianism, like big shadow. And so, of course, everything has a light and a shadow. That new moon activates it. February 11th is an amazing new moon, and probably I'm going to launch my shadow class with this new moon. At least that's what I'm thinking I'm going to be doing. It is lunar in bulk. For those who know, this is the cross-quarter day between winter solstice and spring. So it's when we'll start seeing, little greenery start poking out from the snow. If you live where there's snow, you start to see the sun coming back, but it's not fully back yet. 6 planets are in Aquarius. Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, Mercury Retrograde, the new moon, sun, moon, not to mention also Pallas Athena. So there's a lot going on in Aquarius. And remember, we just birthed the age of Aquarius at the winter solstice of 2020. Well, this new moon is like, whoo, really bringing it in and through. And a lot of these Aquarius planets are sextile Eris. So we're having that harmonious link with the goddess of discord and chaos, but also the goddess of activism and taking a stand for truth. June 24th, there is a midsummer full moon. So, summer solstice is usually June 20th, 21st. 2 years ago, I was in Glastonbury in Ireland for like 3 months, and I attended this lecture on June 24th because it's my birthday, and it was by a druid. And he said that the true summer solstice was actually June 24th. And so this year there's a full moon on the midsummer on what the Druids consider to be the true summer solstice. So that feels powerful. August 8th, the Lion's Gate new moon, which is when I'm teaching. So I hope you'll come join. Sign up for my newsletter because that's how I'll give out the next window of when you can sign up. The doors have closed, so you can't sign up now. August 22nd is a blue moon. So we had a new moon in Aquarius before this one in the previous lunar cycle, and then this one is at the 29th degree of Aquarius. So it's a blue moon. It's opposite Regulus, the royal fixed star of leadership. It's a very powerful full moon. And then the new moon in Libra, October 6th, is a big one because that's the day Pluto stations direct. 2 days later, Pluto squares Eris for the third and final time. Libra is the sign of the balancing of the scales in relationship, and Pluto stationing direct definitely can be intense, but it can also be cathartic and transformative. It all depends on how we work with the energies. So that's the year ahead. This is longer than I thought it was going to be, but there was a lot to share. So check out my membership if you're interested. I'll put a link. I do weekly horoscopes, lunar monthly horoscopes, yearly horoscopes, which are going to be up by January 1st. I'm going to be recording them in the next few days. Forecasts, monthly, weekly, yearly, gate calls for the new moons and for the solar gateways, solstices, equinoxes, and cross-quarter points. I do readings. I tend to book 3 to 6 months out, depending on my travel and teaching schedule. So if you're interested in a reading, just keep that in your mind that you have to book ahead of time. And I teach a lot of classes. I'll have my shadow class coming out, I'm guessing. I think it's going to be around the February new moon. I'll have that finalized soon and listed on my website and out in my newsletter. So make sure you're on my newsletter to get, the updated info. Embodied Astrology will be coming out next year. I'm thinking fall, but it might be sooner. I don't know. It's a whole new course that's been kind of coming through me for a few years, and now it's sort of all coming into an offering online. And I will teach my foundations class again, probably, I'm guessing May or June. I'm guessing May or June. So be sure to be on my newsletter to get updates on when the classes are for sign up and registration. And there's other things in the works, so stay tuned. I hope that this video was useful, giving you insight into what is to come. If you want to know what this all means for your sign, sign up for my horoscopes because they'll be up by January 1st, and I'll be talking about the major astrology here and what it means for you personally. Many blessings. Happy end of a very powerful and intense year, and may the new year come in with much grace and ease. Blessed be.